The F-16 is a relatively mature airplane, so it's not the newest aircraft. That's why it's being replaced in many Western orbits. But it still is a very, very capable aircraft. Plenty of flying hours left on them. There are a number of providers in Europe and the West who will see them as not surplus, but they're certainly on their way out of service and therefore might be available to be gifted. It can go pretty fast, pretty high. But more importantly, over the years, the avionics and the radar and the weapon systems has been constantly upgraded. So it's got all the bells and whistles of all the modern aircrafts. There are huge numbers of them out there. They're in operations with multiple nations who are already donors. So it's a bit like the Leopard 2 scenario. You can't get one nation to give them all. So you might need 5 or 6 nations to give a smaller number. I don't really see the F-16s being put too far into harm's way. I think they are effectively part of a layer of defence, that they would play a key part defending sort of the majority of Ukraine. They wouldn't necessarily be seen literally flying over the top of the tanks over the battlefront. That will be for others. But I wouldn't also expect to see Russia doing that either. And of course, the missiles have a relatively long range as well on the F-16, so they don't have to put themselves quite in harm's way. So I would see this being a bit more of a sort of three-dimensional chess fought over a much larger area than just the immediate battle. The F-16 is more than capable of operating at low level. It's got a modern radar that doesn't get cluttered by flying low. It obviously takes additional skill to do that because of the sheer proximity to the ground. But it is a way of maintaining a lower radar signature or a lower detection range, which is why you see people using that tactic. The problem is, of course, that puts you in the range of shorter range systems. Why you often see videos of helicopters and other aircraft throwing out flares to decoy what might be infrared missiles. So nowhere is necessarily 100% safe. But actually, because the weapons now have got relatively good ranges, the radars can detect relatively long ranges, you don't need to get that close to have an effect. And if the only effect they had was to stop Russian attacks, that in itself would be a major bonus. Using missiles that target surface-to-air defences is a highly effective way. And I can tell you this for nothing. If you're a SAM operator, a Russian SAM operator, and you know that there are harm missiles out there, you are very reluctant to turn on your radar for long periods of time because you then become the target yourself. So just the very threat of that being there causes a challenge for the enemy. And that's really my point on this. It isn't necessarily about who wins over the other. It's about putting the opposition on the back foot, degrading their ability to be effective, and thus negating what to them should have been an advantage. And that's really what I'm trying to push here for Ukraine is how can you effectively neuter as much of the Russian capability as possible to level the playing field that then allows the Ukrainian armed forces on the ground to win. The weapon systems and therefore the ranges and the capabilities are very similar. It doesn't have quite the same stealth characteristics. Obviously, it's a little bit older, but it's quite a small aeroplane and therefore it's got quite a small radar cross-section of its own. It does raise some controversy because a lot of people assume it takes years to get people to be capable of operating a complex system. And if you were a young pilot just starting at the age of 19, there's some truth in that. But if you're a sort of mid-20s experienced combat pilot with hundreds of hours on a MiG-29 or another platform, transitioning to a new platform, which actually is a lot simpler to operate and fly, it won't surprise you that over the years we've made these easier to use. You know, the systems in the cockpit now are quite intuitive and a lot of automation put in place to make it easier for the pilot to operate. And so I believe you could take an experienced pilot in about 6 to 8 weeks and convert them across onto the new type. They wouldn't be hugely experienced, clearly, they'd take time to do that. But we are talking about a country here at war with Russia. You know, there's no time for the niceties, and health and safety and some of the regulations that we apply in peacetime clearly would not apply.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.